So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Maria Terzi. I'm a Women Who Code Leadership Fellow for the Women Who Code Emerging Tech track. Today's session is empowering your Flutter apps with AI magic, exploring ML kit integration. And I'm super excited to welcome our amazing speaker today, Elena Georigou Strouthos. Elena has studied computer science at the University of Cyprus and the University of Manchester. She holds the position of the co-founder and CTO of Cocoon Creation, an esteemed agency renowned for its specialization in developing mobile apps, software platform design and development, and also consultation. Before founding Cocoon Creation, she garnered extensive experience in the IT sector of the hospitality industry. Elena also played a pivotal position in the team as a team lead of the Hack Cyprus, which is a prominent online community of technologies in Cyprus. And she is the pioneering force behind the nation's Hack Cyprus is also the pioneering force behind the nation's inaugural hackathon. Elena is also the host of Breaking the 20% podcast, an amazing podcast which also serves as a platform dedicated to exploring historical contributions of women in the technology field. Elena, we're super happy to have you here today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm super excited to be here. Let me share my screen first. I think you can see my screen, correct?
Yes.
Perfect. So as Maria said, my name is Elena. I'm the CTO of an agency that specializes, among other things, in mobile app development. And we do native development, but we also use Flutter when we are building mobile applications. So what am I going to speak about today? I'm going to start by explaining a little bit what Flutter is, and then I'm going to also explain what ML Kit is, and then we'll try and do a demo. So I will show you how to install Flutter and how to create a Hello World app in using Flutter. And then we will play a little bit with how you can build a UI with Flutter. And then we'll move on to the main thing of this presentation, which is we will use various of the components of ML Kit, and I will demo how you can use the features of ML Kit inside the Flutter application. And in the end, I will give you a lot of links so that you can go back and you can play, you can do your own, on your own time, explore more. So Flutter, what is Flutter? So Flutter is a free and open source framework by Google that is used for building natively compiled multi-platform applications from a single code base. And it helps develop high-performance, scalable applications with attractive and functional user interfaces for Android, for iOS, web, and for desktop applications. The programming language for Flutter is Dart, and it was first introduced by Google in 2015, but it was in beta, and it was officially launched in 2018. Right now, there are a lot of Flutter apps in production. In fact, if you go on the Flutter website, there is a whole showcase of applications. I'm just listing a few here, but for example, in Google Ads, the Google Ads mobile application is built with Flutter. It has more than 10 million downloads. Google Pay is also built with Flutter. And then we have companies like BMW or eBay or Crédit Agricole. Crédit Agricole is a bank that use Flutter to build their mobile applications. So why Flutter? So what was attractive from the beginning when we started having mobile application was the fact that you could build the mobile application using native code for iOS and native code for Android, but a lot of people felt that this was a lot of work to build the same thing twice, one for iOS and one for Android. So over the years, there were a lot of efforts to find a way to have a single code base and have an application for both Android and iOS. And we had things like PhoneGap, like Ionic, like Xamarin, like React Native. And the benefit of this is always the same. So the developers only need to write the code once, and they can deploy it to iOS and Android and web or desktop. And you can have a consistent user experience across platforms. This means that you have a lower development cost, and it's easier to maintain, and it's faster to update the mobile applications. Now, I've been around this for many years now, and although in theory this is good, what we had before Flutter didn't always perform well. And I'm sure you've seen applications that were built with tools that it looks like it's a web app wrapped around, a mobile application. You can tell it, and you can tell that this is not working well. It's slow. So although in theory this is what we wanted, we didn't have it in the early years of when we started having mobile applications. Flutter is different. So first of all, Flutter uses a programming language called Dart. This is a programming language that was designed and developed in Google, and it first appeared in 2011. And it's an object-oriented language, and it has garbage collection, and the syntax is C-style. And if you know Java, C#, Swift, Kotlin, it's very easy to learn Dart. It has many similarities. It's a statically typed language, and Dart compilers are quick and reliable. Dart is null safe, and it has a strong developer community, and there is a very big public repository of other libraries that you can go online and find. Flutter is fast, so Flutter applications perform at a level that is very, very similar to an application that was built using the native tool like Kotlin or Swift for iOS. And they don't use React Native, for example, uses a JavaScript bridge, but Flutter doesn't have this. And a main difference between Flutter and React Native is that Flutter has ahead of time compilation, which means that the apps are fast. But Dart also has just-in-time compilation, which means you can have what we call a stateful hot reload. So as you are writing code, the screen, or if you're running the app on your device or in a simulator or an emulator, you can see the changes that you are doing live. These slides are, I don't know if it's very visible, it has a little video, and if you see, you are changing the color, and the screen immediately becomes yellow. And also, another benefit of Flutter is that there is a very, very big collection of easy to customize widgets that help developers create an awesome UI. So if you go to Flutter website, there is a catalog of widgets, and you can browse through, and you can see there is a big big variety of ready-made widgets that you can use to incorporate in the app. And of course, it follows the modern Terzi, which means that it uses a declarative UI. This is the modern approach, and basically, declarative coding is about extracting a program what it should do and not how to do it. And I guess in mobile, it started with the React Native, but then both native iOS and native Android shifted to it. iOS introduced Swift UI in 2019, Android Jetpack Compose in 2020. And if you see the little example I have at the end of the slide, you will see that when you have the imperative kind of coding, then you say, make this view red, then add a child to that view. But then when we have the declarative way of coding, we just say we have a view that is red and it has a child. So it's a different way of coding. The other benefit of this is that if you are familiar with native development, either for Android or with iOS, you know that there is no single source of truth. So if you want to see how the UI looks, you have an XML and an XML file and some Kotlin code for Android, and then in iOS you will have the storyboard and then some code in Swift. So there is no easy way to directly know what the UI will look like. But in this way, you have the single source of truth that every information about how the UI should be is there. It's in one place. So this was Flutter, and if you haven't used it before, I will go back to it in a bit, and I will show you how to get started with it. The other part of this presentation is the ML Kit by Google. So what is ML Kit? Basically, ML Kit brings Google's machine learning expertise to mobile developers in a powerful and easy to use package. It was introduced at Google I/O in 2018, and basically it's about being able to have processing on device, and it also works offline, which means that if you want to have this processing happen on the actual device without transferring data back to the server, this is possible. It's very easy to use. So basically, the big benefit here is that you don't need to understand how a machine learning works. You get the capability out of box, and then you can use things like face recognition or natural language processing without understanding the underlying technology. So with very few lines of code, you can have these capabilities in your mobile application without having to understand the difficult part of machine learning. And there are two parts. There is the vision APIs, which is about video and images analysis. And then there is the natural languages APIs that work with text, and there are 58 different languages supported. By the way, if you have questions, send them in the chat, and then we'll get back to it. So, vision APIs, there are quite a few in this category. There is barcode scanning. So what barcode scanning is, it's about scanning and processing barcodes, and it supports the 1-dimension and the 2-dimension formats. There is face detection, which basically it detects faces and facial landmarks. And you can detect faces in an image and also key facial features like the contour of the face, or like the ears, or if somebody is smiling. This is the kind of thing that you can detect with the face detection API. And it can work both in static images, but also in video. Then there is the face mesh detection, which basically it creates in real time a mesh of the face. There is the text recognition API that can detect text in many different languages: Chinese, Japanese, Korean, the Latin character set. And you can use this API to automate tasks like if you are scanning a credit card or a receipt, or even a visiting card, you can use this API to get and extract the text from the image. And there is also the imaging labeling API. This one you can use to basically identify objects and find what they are in a picture. So like places, activities, animal species, products. It detects a lot of things. And there is the object detection and tracking, which it's about tracking objects in an image or a live camera feed. The next one is the digital ink recognition. So this one is about recognizing handwritten text. So it's basically, you use it if you have handwritten text, you can use this to recognize this text. There is the pose detection API, which is about detecting the pose of the body in real time, something like a video. So if you have somebody, I don't know, jumping up and down, it can detect this movement of, I'm jumping up and down. And then the last one is the selfie segmentation that allows, you to separate the focus, which is the person, from the background. So you can extract the selfie and put it in a different background, for example. So this is the vision APIs. And then there is the natural language APIs. So we have language identification. So this one is about identifying the language of a provided text. So if you have something like a text that maybe it's on a social media platform and people may be writing in different language, and you want to detect if somebody's writing, I don't know, in Greek, in Spanish, or in English, you can use this to detect the language. And there is also the translation. The translation is about dynamically translating between more than 50 languages. So you have the text, I don't know, in German, and then it's automatically translated to English. And there is a smart reply. This is a cool one. I like very, very much this one. Basically, this one is about generating automatic replies that are relevant to a conversation. So let's say that you have a chatbot that is for customer support, and you can provide the whole conversation between the user or even two users, and it can, generate relevant responses. It can be even to help the user type faster. It doesn't need to be, a completely automatic process. This one works only in English for now. And the last one is the entity extraction, which basically, if you have a piece of text, it can detect things like addresses, dates, phone numbers, and a whole other different kind of entities. And it works in 15 different languages. So I think I've been talking for a while now. So let's try to do some practice. And the first thing I want to show you is how to install Flutter. So the steps can be different per platform. but they have the same basic format. So you need to download the installation bundle from the latest stable release, and then you need to extract it, and you need to add Flutter to your path on your machine, and you can use a command line that is called Flutter Doctor to check that nothing is wrong, and then you need to set up your IDE. And let me go here, and I will show you this. So if you come to the Flutter website, and one of the very first things you'll see is the start. Then you select your operating system. So let's say Mac, because I'm on a Mac. And then you need to follow the instructions. When you do this, make sure you have time on your hand, because it's a long process. It has many steps. It has a lot of requirements. For example, if you want to use Flutter for iOS, there are prerequisites like having Xcode and installing different versions of iOS on your machine. So you need to take your time and do this step by step. You will make a mistake, it's okay. And then you come back, but you need to follow the instructions. And then eventually you will have it set up on your environment and it will be working. I'm scrolling through, you see, it's a process. So let's go back to the slides. So let's say that you somehow manage to do all of this on your own time. The next step is about IDs that I want to talk about. So in theory, you can build apps using Flutter with any text editor and or any IDE. Don't do that. There is official support for Visual Studio Code, for IntelliJ IDEA Community Educational and Ultimate Editions, and for Android Studio. Go with Android Studio. Is what is best supported. If you see tutorials, everybody is using Android Studio. If you see, I mean, there is a lot more out there about how you can probably do it in Android, and there is also a Flutter plugin for the Android Studio. Let me, I'll go here. So basically, again, this is the same website we're looking at before. You go to Android Studio, and oops, sorry, not here. And then it will tell you how to install this plugin on Android Studio, which will give you, I have Android Studio somewhere here. So if you see, I will have the option to run, and I will have some extra tools here that have to do with Flutter specifically. Sorry. So you can test your code in different platforms. So you have different options. You can, sorry, give me a second. Okay, so you can run it on an iOS simulator. This is an option only if you are using a Mac. So if you are on a Windows machine or on a Linux machine, you don't have this option. You can also run on an Android emulator, and you can also use a real device. Again, for iOS, it's only an option if you are using a Mac. You can also run it as a web app or as a desktop app. And it can be a desktop app for Windows or for a Mac. So, demo time. So I will go and I will say new Flutter project. And basically, the first, it will find where the Flutter is installed on my machine. And then I need to give it name. Let's call it demo project women who code. And I have different options here. For now, we'll go with application, and you can choose the language for Android or for iOS. Don't do Java, don't do Objective-C. we're over that. It's been a while now. Just go for Kotlin or Swift. And then you can choose the platform that you want this app to run on. So if I click, sorry, yes. So this is my very first, Flutter application, and we will run it and try to play around with it. So let's use the iOS simulator, and I will make this a bit smaller. And I will bring it here. And it takes a while to run the first time, as you can see. So we have this lovely app running, and all it does is you click and it counts up. But I want to show you a little bit here what's going on. So you can see that it uses the declarative UI. So it starts from a scalpel. Inside this, there is an embark, and it's the body, it's center, and inside there is a child. That's a column, and then you have inside the text, and you have the counter, and later on we see this button. So now I can use, let's try to, for example, so that I can demo the hot reload, I can go here and I can say, let's see, sorry, let's make it inverse. Was in my primary from the beginning, I think. Okay. I will make it red. And as soon as I say, now the app, you can see it became red, the app part. And if I go a little bit down and I say, I can try to change this text, I can say, you have pushed this button this many times, and I can have, I don't know, a couple of exclamation marks, and you can see here it changes. So what we can do is add a little bit more in the UI, for example. Oh, sorry. So hello world, and I save it, and now it says hello world, and I can make the font size, I don't know, bigger, and I can make the color, or let's say, what color do I want? Sorry. I can make it, let's make it brown. So now, I don't know, it's very visible. Let's try green. So I think this is not very visible. So now the hello world is green. Let's go back to the slides. So basically, the main part of how you build a UI in Flutter is something called a widget. So in every element in Flutter is a widget. And there are two kinds of widgets, the stateless ones and the stateful. So the stateless one is when you have something that is static, like an image, a label, something that doesn't changes because the user is interacting with the app. The stateful is for something that is dynamic. So it's because either you are getting input from the user or because you are calling an API and you are getting information, from that API. So it needs to change as the app is running. And as I've said before, there are a lot of ready-made widgets you can use. So this is how a widget looks. So basically, what you are looking here is that we have the widget that is called the material app. Inside we have the scaffold, and inside we have the app art that is on the top, and then we have the body, and then in the body you see this center widget that basically tells the app that it needs to center the content, and then you have the column, and that column has children, so it has the hello world, the box, a little box, and a button. So everything is a widget, and there is a hierarchy. So you start from the root, and then you are adding children in the hierarchy. One of the things that you can do if you are in your tweet and if you want to play with it, if you go to the website of Flutter, there is a code lab that will kind of, let me find it. It's here. I think you can see it. So there is a code lab, and you kind of find it from. I will give you the link, but I'm pretty sure there is somewhere in here the link. So there is a code lab, and it can take you through and help you set up your environment, create your first project, and then start playing around with Flutter. And one last thing about Flutter. So if you want to start working with Flutter, go and check out the block design pattern. So block stands for business logic component, and it's a state management library. And you can use it to handle the states of your application. And I'm giving you the link there. Don't read it before you start playing around with Flutter. It's going to be very hard. Play a little bit around with Flutter and then go and read it. But if you are going to build a real app that is going to go into production, you need to use block. So let's get back to the exciting stuff, which is the ML kit. So the slides are in the wrong order, and just realized. So ML Kit is a mobile SDK for Android and iOS app. It supports Kotlin and Java for Android, and it also supports Swift and Objective-C for iOS. So no support for Dart. What are we going to do now? Doesn't work. So we can stop now the presentation, or maybe there is a solution. And the solution is basically Flutter has something called channels. So Flutter is great when it comes to building UI. It's very fast, it's very easy, and it's very good when you do things like file or network input output, or even if you are building business logic. But when you start, you need to have a deeper integration with the device capabilities, things like notifications, sensors, the camera, the GPMs. Then it becomes much trickier. And it also becomes tricky. In this case we have now, because you have some code and an SDK that was written for native, but it doesn't exist for Flutter. And basically what the platform channels do, they provide a mechanism for communicating between the Dart code and the platform-specific code of your host app. And this is how it works in general. So basically there is a Flutter app, there is a method channel, and then it will first communicate with the iOS host, and it will, execute the iOS code, and it will also do the same for Android. So the messages are passed between the client and the host, and the messages and the responses, they are passed asynchronously, which means the UI remains responsive. So because of the plugin, this plugin that I'm going to use to show you now, it uses the channels. There is no machine learning processing that is happening in Flutter. All the calls are passed back to the native platform using the method channel in Android and in iOS, and they are executed using the Google's native APIs. So this plugin is like a bridge to bridge you back to the native code so that we can use these capabilities. And this is the wrong, the wrong order slide, but basically this is a plugin. This is a plugin that is not an official plugin, it's not sponsored or maintained by Google. And if you go to the website of this plugin, it says that the authors are developers that are excited about machine learning, and they wanted to expose Google native APIs to Flutter. So we will try to do a few examples. Let me, sorry, give me a second. So this is a plugin that I was showing you before in the screenshot. So if you scroll down, this is very well documented, and it shows you it exists there and what is supported, what is not supported, and how it works. And then if you want to use something specific, you can go and click on the specific one. And I can go here, and then it will explain me about the face detections for Flutter. Okay, so let's go back here. So I will try to do a few examples. So let's start from the Vision APIs. So the first step when we're working with the Vision APIs is to create an input image. And this link explains how it works, but basically you can start with an image from a path, from a file, from an input image, or you can use the camera plugin. This is a plugin here that will, allow you to take photos with the camera or with the gallery that's on the phone. And then let's try to do face detection, for example. So if you see, there is very, very little code actually, because there are only 2 steps required. So first, you need to create a face detector, and then you need to process the image. So basically, let's see, it says, okay, process the image, and then you get an array of faces. And okay, this example is a loop. So basically, you get the position of the face, and then it detects things like where is the left. This is the left ear, or if this person that was detected is smiling, on the probability of the smiling. So let me show you this in practice. And I think I don't have it running. So we need to run it here. And this time we'll use an Android device. Maria, how am I with time?
Yes, I think you're fine. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So let's go to face detection, and here we have our friends that did this example were very kind to give us a sample image that has many faces. And if you've seen it run, and it detected 18 different faces. So let's try and change this code. And let's try and detect if these faces are smiling or not. So I'll go here and smiling probability. Because it's typeset, I have to do this. And so I will say smiling probability. No, this is wrong. I need them. And let's do this one more time. And something went wrong here because it says for everything 0. But as you can see, some of these faces are actually smiling. So the mistake here is actually when we initialize this here, we need to tell this enable classification. And let's try again. And now you can see there is the probability here that if this face is smiling or not. And I know this is not a very exciting app, but imagine what you can build with, this. So you have a picture, and with very few lines of code, you are detecting the faces, and if they are smiling or not, and other features on that face. Okay. So another option is the image labeling. So you can, detect and extract information about things like objects, activities, animals. And again, you can see this is very, very simple. So if you see, there is the image labeler that you have to create an instance of the images labeler, and then you process the image, and then you get an array of labels. So for example, let me go here. Don't know how visible it is, but it says it has furniture, and there is a bed here. And let's try different image. Okay, I will try the little mushroom. So you see, we found the mushroom. Oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong slide again. Image labeling, and also there is the object detection has the ability to use custom models. So the ML Kits API, they use ready-made trained machine learning models by Google. But the image labeling and the object detection and tracking API offer you the option to also use a custom image classification model. So if you are a more advanced user and you understand more about this, you can use a prepaid model from TensorFlow Hub, or you can even use your own custom model trained with TensorFlow, with AutoML Vision Edge, or with TensorFlow Lite Model Maker. And you can also host these models on Firebase. So in this example, you can see that we have the object detector, and we can load using an object detector options from a local object detector options, or from Firebase, and then we can use this to do this tracking. And let's try this one. So again, it's detecting various. So you can see here there are different models So if I go back, no, sorry. If I try to use this mushroom here, now it doesn't really work very well. But if I change this here to mushrooms, and I do the same thing, here it is again. So now it's telling me that this is Anamanita muscuria, which I guess is true because I know nothing about mushrooms, but I believe it. And then, okay. So this is our Vision APIs. And before we finish, let's play it with also the natural language processing APIs. So this is the smart reply, and again you can see the code is very, very simple, and you can add to the conversation, and it will give you suggestion. I will not run the example because I don't want to go over with the time a lot. The last one is the entity extraction, and it supports all of these languages, and it supports all of these elements. And again, it's very simple. And I will very, very quickly show you an example. So let's go here. So let's say meet me tomorrow. Come on. At 6 p.m. at the let's say airport, and I can say the flight is on. Okay, and you and then I do extract entities. It realized that this is a date, this is a phone. It didn't recognize the flight number, although it does recognize it. Maybe this is not the right example. It should not recognize the flight number, but as you can see, it found the date, it found the phone number. If I had added an address there, it would have also detected it. So let's go back. So MLKit, it's exciting, and you've seen that it's very easy. It takes a very little code, and you really doesn't need to understand much about how it actually works under the hood. But, this is a new world. So unless you believe it under a rock, one of the most exciting things in machine learning is, generative AI. And generative AI can produce images, text, audio, and even video based on text prompts. And Palm and Palm 2, they are Google answers to ChatGPT. And basically, there is an API, and the Palm API is the simple entry point for Google's language models, and it can be used in a variety of applications. The good news is that Palm API is an API. So basically, with Dart, you can just call it, pass the parameter. I mean, you need to build your UI around it, but then you call it, you pass your parameters. So you see here, there is the URL parser that is initialized in the API. There is the body of the prompt, and then you can call it and it will give you a response. So with just, I don't know how many lines in this, very few lines of code, we are able to call the Parliament PI and we can interact with it. And actually there is a code lab by Google that shows you how to use Flutter with Palm API. And let me open it. So this is a code lab. It's by Google, and it takes you step by step how you can use Palm API and Flutter together. So that's Palm API. And if you are interested also in ChatGPT, there is an option for that as well. So the power of a big developer community like the one that Flutter has is that there is always somebody that thought that I want to do that before you. So there is this I found it today actually. So I haven't used it, but I'm guessing it works. So there is an official community library that is using the ChatGPT API with Flutter, and it's this one, right? I'm sorry. Here, and let's go here. So yeah, so if you go here, it has instructions, and you can install it, and then you can incorporate ChatGPT inside the Flutter app. And this brings us to the end. I hope I didn't tell you too much. I have one last slide, which basically it's a lot of links. Obviously, if you go online and you Google it, you can find everything, but I'll just put it in all here so that they are more easily, accessible by everybody. And this is the end. I don't know if we have any questions.
Elena, what you shared was fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm amazed of how easy it is to actually incorporate MLKit into Flutter and do all those fantastic things. And even if you don't have like a really strong background in machine learning, you can just use them and create awesome applications. The very first question we received from Chantel is, what's the benefit of Flutter over React Native, for instance?
Okay. So in theory, they are very, very similar. But if you've used React Native, you've seen that maintenance is hard, debugging is hard. So it works much better in practice, where React Native in theory was also as good, but in practice, if you've used it and if you use it in production apps like we did, we found many issues that has to do with performance, with being able to debug the code when there is a bug. So that's the difference for me. I mean, it's also using JavaScript, so there are differences there. But yeah.
Jose is asking, is MLKit using TensorFlow? I think we answered part of this.
Yes, basically, okay, so MLKit is an SDK. And what it does is basically is an abstraction over, everything that, Google has, so that you can easily use different capabilities. Depending on which part you are using, different things are used. There are components that use to TensorFlow, yes. And I'm not sure which doesn't, but there are components that do use it.
And we have also you have also mentioned that you can use either the already trained models provided by Google, or you can train your own models. In a later webinar, we will also show to everyone how they can use transfer learning, so that they can use pre-trained models and then retrain them to better meet their needs. So thank you, Elena, so much for that.
I want to say you cannot use custom models with everything. Not all the, there are different components. Some of them you can, some of them you just use it out of the box as it is.
Okay. Also, we have a question about the code. So I don't know if you can provide the link.
Basically, the example code I was showing is it's the example code that comes with this this package. So if you go here, let me go back here. So if you go here and you go to GitHub, yep, here it is. And no, I'm in the wrong place. It's here probably. Yes, all the example code is here, so they can find it and they can use it.
Amazing. We have another question. Can we develop Windows apps using Flutter?
Yes. I mean, to be honest, I haven't tried it. But yes, in theory, it can do it. We use this mostly for Android and iOS development in the company, and this is how it's mainly used. But they are working to make it available in all kind of different platforms.
Great. If there are no more questions, I would like to thank you, Elena, for this super exciting webinar. I think it was super valuable, and for people who are just starting in machine learning, for people that they want to use machine learning in their mobile apps and they don't know where to start from. Thank you for sharing all these valuable insights with a lot of links to code labs that people can test out. And thank you
very much for having me. Again, I mean, go, there are a lot of resources out there, so, you can always try it out yourself.
Thank you so much, Elena. Thank you, everyone, for attending this webinar. As said, this webinar is recorded and will be available in the YouTube channel of Women Who Code. Thank you, everyone.